So this one is a bit of a paradoxical video, so bear with me on this. As you know, so much of the healing from narcissistic relationships is you justify the narcissistic person's behavior. It's the nature of the trauma bond. You know the usual rationalizations from all your work you've done in healing, right? The usual rationalizations are things like they don't really mean it, they are stressed, they had a tough childhood, they are insecure, I feel sorry for them, they lash out when they feel cornered, they have so much shame from an earlier part of their life, they were bullied. You know the list. You've done it, right? You've written some of this. You've come up with all of them. Some of your rationalizations and generalizations are based on what is happening in current time. For example, they had a tough day at work. Some of it is based on stuff from the past. They had a rough childhood. Some of it is self-blaming. Maybe I'm being unreasonable at expecting them to help with dinner. So here is what you are doing, right? The narcissistic person's behaving badly. What else is new? Whatever it may be. Perhaps they're yelling at you or gaslighting you, or they're really reactive when you ask for something simple, or they're passive aggressive. They're doing things that don't feel good. And your go-to is quite often, I wonder why they are doing this. Let me try and figure it out. So here is where we get into this sort of odd question that I get over and over from podcast interviewers and psychologists and just about everyone. The question is, how can all of us just learn to be more compassionate? Compassion heals. Let's be compassionate towards the narcissistic person. I kid you not. That is the question that is put out there. How can we be more compassionate? After all, they are insecure. They have shame. They may have had a tough backstory. And their behavior at times is bordering on the delusional. So we really need to find some compassion for them. Let's put a pin in this, right? Because I'm going to be coming back to this point. Now, this is the issue that many survivors face who ask themselves, right? You ask yourself this, well, maybe I can find a way to be more compassionate and understand why they behave the way they do. Listen, on this channel alone, I have talked ad nauseum about the why of narcissism. It's clear why. It's also kind of sad, but trust me, your story is pretty rough too. However, the point of this video is to make the point that you are able to dive into this rather deep well of compassion you have for people who have not been very nice to you, who have manipulated you, raged at you, betrayed you, and lied to you, mocked you, humiliated you, ignored your needs, and had no empathy for you, but yet you found some way to find compassion for them. You constructed it from their backstory, their current story. You made sense of their psychology, and good for you. That is not easy to do. But the problem is, it's not good for you to do. The challenge I issue to you is this. If you are able to do this, dig deep into all of this compassion you have for the narcissistic person who is or who has harmed you. Try and do this for yourself too. If you are able to construct this elegant theory of why they are the way they are and do what they do, why can't you do this for yourself? In this relationship, you often think you're the problem. You did the bad thing. You are the issue. Well, we know that's all the trauma bonded dance. Okay, so bear with me. If that's the case, we now know you're able to be compassionate for a badly behaved person. You're doing it for the badly behaved narcissistic person. So if you're behaving badly, show the compassion for yourself as well. So for example, when you say, oh, I'm so demanding, I'm being so difficult, I'm expecting them to help out with the kitchen after they had a long day. You had a long day too, but you focus on theirs. Perhaps you can say, I'm asking for help because I had a long day myself and I could use the help. When you say, maybe I'm not trying hard enough in this relationship, maybe it's my problem and I'm not communicating clearly, you can try. I'm trying my best to make my point, and I also grew up with a tough mother who never listened, so not being heard is difficult for me and makes all of this harder. When you believe that maybe you're a bad person for getting angry or raising your voice at the narcissistic person who lied to you, you could try, well, I was exposed to anger all the time as a child, and nobody listened to anyone in my family. Here's a rub. I don't love these explanations for you, right? You aren't a bad person for having an honest reaction to someone who betrays you. You are communicating clearly. They just aren't listening. And they should be helping you in the kitchen. But since that's a little bit of a heavy lift for survivors, to get to the point where they see the situation clearly, at a minimum, try and come up with compassionate justifications for your own behavior. You're doing it for the narcissist, just do the same thing for yourself. At least it's a more self-kind place to begin. You can't win for losing in these relationships. You get the BS message about how you need to find compassion for someone who is so riddled with shame. Remember how I asked you to put a pin in it? Well, survivors have to carry all of the compassionate and emotional baggage in the relationship. Be compassionate to the narcissist is what you hear. Make everything work. Communicate. However, it's an inversion, a reversal, because nothing is coming back at you. The relationship is an eternal one-way street, and it ain't coming in your direction. So the same way you are able to find compassion for someone who is so unkind to you, who leaves you feeling less than and inadequate and foolish. While I understand some of how you are able to do it is the complex web of trauma bonding, some of it is still conscious. You are making an active attempt to try to find a compassionate way to understand the narcissistic person. And of course, there is always the damn specter of cognitive dissonance, which is why we are often creating that compassionate response for the narcissist, which helps lower that sense of tension. They are my spouse, parent, fill in the blank. I need to be kind and show grace. That stance can help lessen that cognitively dissonant tension of this person is terrible. Oh, they're my mother. Shoot, that doesn't fit. So you find a way to make it fit. Can you do it for yourself? Show this compassion. After all, if you can find compassion and make excuses for someone who you are increasingly aware is behaving badly, and you believe you are behaving badly, shouldn't you be able to apply the same skills and be compassionate to you? Try it. What's the worst that could happen? Thanks again.